Happiness. How do you define it? Ask a room full of people, everyone will tell you something different. To some, happiness is friends and family. To others, happiness is how you feel on the inside. Some will say money can buy it, some will say it can't. Well, you just slide over that case of $100 million and I'll give you my 2 cents. Throughout history, every nation in the world has had both highs and lows. Sometimes the richest nations in the world will look up from the hustle and bustle of their day-to-day lives and tell you how sad they really are. Sometimes the poorest will tell you the opposite. Through years of tragedy and despair, some countries find true peace and tranquility in the world. You may be asking yourself, which nation do I fly to if I'm in need of this happiness? Well, we're glad you asked, because here are our top picks of the top 10 happiest countries to live in the world. Number 10, Austria. In the south of Europe, we have Austria. With a population of 9 million people, Austria isn't afraid of visitors. Being the birthplace of that one guy, Austria emerged after a dark period during the Second World War to become one of the most upbeat places on the planet. Austrians have much to be happy about. Not only do they live in one of the most beautiful countries in the world, with the northern and southern limestone Alps running through it, on which people can ski and mountain bike all year round. Austria can be proud of its high rates of GDP and life expectancy, and the fact that the country also sits very high in the ratings of freedom and social services its citizens enjoy. Not to mention being home to one of the most livable cities in the world, Vienna. That being where the cool opera sequence in Mission Impossible was shot, if you fancy a visit to the stopover, which we hope you do. Number 9, Canada. Up next, often described by its lengthy and at times agnostic relationship with its brother to the south, we have Canada. Home to such national treasures like Terrence and Phillip and Deadpool himself, Ryan Reynolds. One can see why the Canadians are often smiling from ear to ear. In fact, according to a 2019 study, they were rated as having some of the strongest ties with their friends and family. Ask anyone who's been, and they'll tell you that Canada's natural landscapes are some of the most awe-inspiring stuff in the world. Crystal blue lakes, majestic valleys, and crisp pine forests are enough to make anyone smile. Not only is it one of the most ethnically diverse nations on the planet, being the product of hefty amounts of immigration, it frequently ranks among the best in international measurements for quality of life, civil liberties, and government transparency. Not to mention having an impressive unemployment rate. Free healthcare is also a huge win for the people of the Great White North. Number 8. Sweden. The Kingdom of Sweden is a country in Northern Europe, bordering Norway and sharing its history of Viking culture and expansion. Now, it's a well-known fact that those pesky Vikings were a happy bunch, often drinking and dancing the night away in buoyant displays of rowdiness. Though the Vikings might have gone away, Sweden's joy certainly hasn't. Something to be proud of, Sweden was ranked the best country for women. A jovial balance of work and downtime means that social equality is part and parcel of its education system. 480 days of paid leave can be split between a couple after a new child arrives, so it's fair to say that Sweden's family units are well taken care of. And it's one of the many reasons why its populace can't always keep upbeat. Even the less fortunate Swedes can take pleasure in the fact that Sweden has one of the best welfare systems in the world. Nothing to be scoffed at, free daycare is also provided. Starting to plan a family? Then joyful old Viking country might be the place. Number 7. New Zealand. Middle Earth itself, New Zealand. Now, if someone called me a Kiwi, I'm not sure how I'd feel. But New Zealanders don't have any problem with it. In fact, they don't seem with the two main land masses and a rich, diverse culture forming out of the Polynesians, who settled on the islands in 1280, and the Europeans, who settled there in 1840. New Zealanders are a contented lot. Being not only the first country to beat the coronavirus, New Zealand is home to a sprawling, exotic wilderness of gorgeous beaches and jaw-dropping mountains, attracting many tourists each year, as well as many Hollywood film companies. This great country was the site of many major blockbusters like Lord of the Rings and Avatar. Many things contribute to New Zealand being a merry place, not least the fact that the government released a well-being budget in 2019 to confront climate change, poor health and housing, digital transformations, and social exclusion, to name but a few. New Zealanders feel socially supported, often ranking highly on many international measures. The closeness and resilience of its people serve as an example to the rest of the world. New Zealand's ability to come together and deal with tragedy with their heads held high is not only evident in the 2011 earthquake, but also following the recent terrorist attacks there. Number 6. Norway. Not to bring up Vikings again, though I do think they're cool. One can see why they lived a relatively carefree life, As well as calling Sweden their home, they also got to pitch camp in Norway, described as Europe's most beautiful country with its electrifying mountain ranges, fjords, and eye-piercing glaciers. This country is an ideal setting for hiking and skiing, among other pastimes. Norwegians, as well as living in a country that's high on the beauty scale, can also revel in the country's impeccable welfare system and a thriving, environmentally friendly economy, along with universal healthcare, a comprehensive social security system, a profound trust in their government, and a frequent top ranking in the World Prosperity Indexes. Yes, it's fair to say that happiness is blooming in the land of midnight. Number 5. Netherlands. Clog jokes and famous artists who cut their own ears off aside. At number 6, we have the Netherlands. With sparkling tourist attractions like the city of Amsterdam being a centerpiece of history and the arts mean the Dutch have a lot to take pride in. The canals are also cool. So it should come as no surprise that happiness starts at your first steps in the Netherlands. Dutch children were rated the happiest in the world from a 2013 UNICEF report based on a number of issues like educational well-being and health. A famously welcoming people, their pace of life is one of the many reasons they rank high on our list. With high levels of social equality and their eco-friendly ways, this diverse and inclusive nation ranks very high in the level of immigrant happiness and life expectancy. With these statistics, how could you not want to pay a visit to this untroubled kingdom? Number 4. Iceland. Hey, I'd be happy too if I got a limitless amount of ice for my drinks. Just kidding. In fact, there's much less ice in Iceland than you might expect, with only 11% of the country covered by the stuff. But don't worry, people here know how to keep their cool. Wouldn't living in a majestic, otherworldly landscape full of lava fields, volcanoes, hot springs, and one of the best views of the Aurora Borealis make you happy too? It should come as no surprise that tourism is on fire here, with many big movies and TV shows choosing to shoot here, like Star Wars and Game of Thrones. But it's not only the landscape which helps the people of Iceland keep their spirits up. Cleanliness, equal opportunities, and a post-2007 rejuvenation make it a great place to live. In fact, it was the first country to enforce equal pay for men and women, and as such, Icelanders place a great deal of importance on independence and individual growth. But that's not all. A poll done by the OECD revealed that 66% of Icelanders were satisfied with their lives, while 70% believe that their lives will be satisfying in the near future. Similarly, 83% of people divulged having more positive experiences in any given day than negative ones. With those numbers, it's not surprising that those who live in this magical country always have a smile on their face. Number 3. Switzerland. You guessed it, the home of Swiss cheese, and no wonder they eat so much. The dairy product contains tryptophan, an amino acid proven to relieve stress. But if food isn't enough for you, as well as being the place for chocolate and fondue lovers, the Swiss are a cheerful, friendly, and nature-loving people with strong family values and bonds to their wider communities. Possessing such wonders as the Swiss Alps and Lake Geneva, with its system of direct democracy, it's one of the few countries in the world where one can feel that they are actively participating in their country's well-being. Every voice is heard in Switzerland, and everything is voted on, from decisions on human rights right down to how many new lampposts should be installed in the neighborhood park. And as well as having excellent healthcare, unparalleled tax breaks, and a shining economy, Switzerland, despite having mandatory military service, hasn't been in a war since 1847. And though this happiness and community tightness might be off-putting to some, the Swiss can rest easy knowing that they are secure and prepared for any challenge or conflict that may arise. Take note, the rest of the world. P.S. A low crime rate is also a plus. Number 2. Denmark. As our runner-up, we've chosen Denmark. Sharing its seafaring history with such countries as Sweden and Norway, Denmark is the southernmost of the Scandinavian countries, and one of the only countries in the world where a large portion of its energy is wind generated. But what makes the Danes so happy? Yes, like many other countries, having not only a beautiful landscape to explore, but a long life expectancy, social support, freedom, government trust, economic security, equality, and the lowest perceived level of corruption in the world, the Danes are happy because of something else. They are one of the few countries in the world where happiness is firmly rooted and engraved on the social consciousness of the country itself. A cultural construct, hygge, meaning cozy or international intimacy, refers to shared and harmonious experiences, i.e. a dinner or gathering with friends, or a picnic in the park. Spaces and events can also be referred to as hyggelig. In fact, if someone in Denmark were to tell you that your party was unhyggelig, then you should probably hang your head in shame, or maybe just promise to do better the next one. This concept, firmly lodged into Denmark's psyche, leaves many countries wanting the happiness that the Danes have achieved. Number 1. Finland. Coming in at number 1, sorry Denmark. And our pick for the happiest country to live in the world, we have Finland. Maybe surprising to some. With a population of 3.53 million, Finland is the 8th largest country in Europe, and unlike a lot of other happy countries on our list, Finland is dark and cold for much of the year. Surprisingly, the Finns aren't well known for showing their emotions, but they don't need to pretend to be happy. After all, they have one of the best education systems on the planet. There's a widespread respect for teachers here. Required to have a master's degree, educators place more merit on equal opportunity and experimental learning rather than quantitative measures of testing. Not only topping the charts in education, Finland excels in welfare, social services, free healthcare, and low income differences, not to mention having a virtual absence of corruption. The country guarantees decent living conditions for all residents. And on a side note, its capital, Helsinki, was named as the happiest city in the world. So take that, LA. The nation's harmony with nature also shines through. Enjoy trekking in recent Tenturi National Park or snowboarding in Ruka. There are countless places of interest in Finland. It's not hard to see why people report having strong satisfaction with life here, confident that they live in a place where people look out for each other. Depressed? Well, pick yourself up and dust yourself off and take a visit to the Game of Thrones inspired Ice Hotel in the far north of Kitala, where you could take a seat on the beautifully recreated Iron Throne. Just don't be frightened by the Night King and White Walker sculptures looming over the spacious ice cube beds. Well, there you have it, folks. Though, we're sure you're content with where you live now. If you think it's time for change, then consider visiting some of our picks. Who knows, maybe you'll find the secret to real happiness along the way. Tell us what you thought of the video in the comments section below, and please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to turn on that notification bell so that you don't miss any of our new content. And once again, a massive thank you to everyone who has supported the channel.